I'm Jay Miles, and I want to share with you a story that stuck with me for years. I joined the force many decades ago. It was my redemptive way of giving back to society. When I was younger, in my mid-20s, I committed petty crimes in a desperate attempt to fit in. The culture at the time was one that admired bad boys, and having a record was cool. To most people. I grew out of that. I was partnerless for some of the 911 calls I responded to, and I'm just thankful to whatever being that exists out there that I had a partner for this call in particular. Our police cruiser was parked in a dark alleyway, tucked between its brick walls as to catch speeding drivers. It was around 1 a.m. when we received the dispatch. Someone called about a woman who was walking the streets barefoot with a baby while murmuring things to herself. That was all we were told. We arrived at the scene. My partner Rob and I were on edge the moment we got there. Not least because Cinder Valley was a notoriously bad neighborhood. After circling the area a few times, the woman was nowhere to be found. So we decided to park the cruiser and knock on some doors. The 911 caller was anonymous, so we weren't able to speak with them directly. Most folks were asleep at this hour, so we had settled for whoever happened to be walking the streets at night. "You see that?" said Rob. Someone disappeared behind a wooden gate by a house, and we just missed them. Rob and I jogged over to see if we could get this person, our possible suspect. I could see folks in their homes peeking through curtains, staring curiously at two cops running around in their neighborhood. It looked like the suspect entered someone's backyard through an open gate, so we flipped on our flashlights and followed. The backyard was pitch black, and we couldn't see anything that wasn't within the narrow beams of our flashlight. I noticed my partner's light was shaking mildly. "You okay?" I asked him. "I'm fine." "It's okay to be scared, man," I said, chuckling. "Fuck off." A rusty swing set moved at the wind, and the trees around us sounded their leaves. My body shivered, not at the cold breeze, but at the atmosphere. If I was unsettled, I could only imagine how much more my partner was. "Excuse me, sir?" The homeowner suddenly opened her backyard door. "I'm sorry, ma'am," I said. "We'll be off your property in no time. Didn't mean to scare you. My partner and I are looking for a woman who was reported." "Officer, I can't hear you too well. Would you mind coming inside?" I went inside to speak with the homeowner while Rob continued searching the backyard. I explained that we were looking for a woman who was behaving strangely and was walking around the neighborhood with a baby in hand. While talking with the homeowner, Rob screamed from outside. "You okay? What happened?" I asked. It looked as if he had witnessed a ghost appear before his very eyes, then vanish into thin air. "I saw her." "The woman? What did she look like?" Come on, Rob, talk." He took a moment and caught his breath, with his hand over his heart. "She ran up the wall, right in front of me. She ran up that wall, Jay, like an animal." He pointed at the 2-story house. I didn't know what to make of that. Rob didn't have a history of mental illness that I was aware of, and he certainly wasn't on drugs. I knew him, and I knew him for a comfortable amount of time to be able to say with confidence that he would never make things up, especially when it was serious, like police work. Well, I began awkwardly. Did you see which way she went after she climbed the wall? The bushes over that mental gate there, he said, flashing his light at it. I saw them moving. With our guns drawn, we hopped over the gate and searched the next door neighbor's property. Wait, said Rob. I heard you call for backup. Shouldn't we wait for them? No, we can do this, just us two. This backyard was even bigger than the other, but it was just as dark. We aimed our flashlight at the wooden shed sitting at the corner of the yard. And before we took another step forward, we heard someone crying. It sounded like a baby. Police! I knocked down the door of the shed and we cleared the inside. The woman was not there. But there was a baby. A plastic one. Rob pointed his light on the ground of the shed. The hell is this? The mechanical baby doll that could play recorded sounds, placed there by someone for the purpose of luring people, was not something that sat right with me. Not a moment after that, our ears rang with a blood-curdling, high-pitched scream coming from the first house whose backyard we searched. As I dashed back to the other house, I noticed Rob wasn't following. He wasn't even moving. Let's go! What the hell are you doing? I yelled. Rob's eyes widened as he glared at me, his mouth agape. I can't. I just can't, Jay. Sorry. I didn't have time to argue with him, so I continued on and hopped over the gate and entered the old woman's house. What's wrong? I asked her. I saw her. She was right there. The old woman pointed outside to her backyard, at the spot on the ground that was just by the glass door. She was just there, just standing and looking at me. And I think she smiled. Okay, which way did she... Another scream. Rob's. By the time I made it back over to the shed, Rob was nowhere to be found. The plastic baby was gone too. I called out for him and looked everywhere, but he was simply gone. You know, it was like this mysterious woman could smell fear. It's something she seemed to prey on, and Rob had plenty of it that night. When backup arrived, I explained to my higher-ups at least a few hundred times what had transpired. It all took place decades ago, and Rob hasn't been found since. It's a cold case. When I think back on this night, it shivers my spine like nothing else. That mysterious woman. She was playing a game with the two of us, and it felt like she won from experience. I'm not even sure why I'm referring to her as a woman, as a human being, because if Rob's description of her is any indication, she was something else. A full year passed by and I went through different partners. I was stationed in the same city, and sometimes my new partner John and I had to report to calls that came from Cinder Valley. Eventually, I almost forgot about it, but I never forgot Rob, wherever he was, dead or alive. That didn't last. One night, while sitting in our cruiser, John and I received the dispatch. It seemed like another ordinary call, but, well, until the operator mentioned something about a woman talking to herself on the street with a crying baby in hand.